Hello there. Once again, you decide to take another revealing peek back into history.
What famous date shall I set it to today?
Once again, it's time for Throwback Thursday, a second chance to look at some truly awful podcasts. No, wait, a second chance to see how far Vicis Interimo has come over the last 8 years. New episodes will be released pretty much weekly, but Thursdays I've reserved for throwbacks to see how far we've come. A lot of the information on here no longer applies, whether that be businesses or links that may not work anymore, so be advised of that. But again, I want to thank the patrons that we have at this time, though they may not have been here the first time these episodes were recorded. I am thanking them again because they're helping us move forward with our new episodes. And those are patrons such as At Lonely Bob, Big Al V, and Goldafish. In the meantime, I hope that you enjoy what you hear.
Welcome to episode 96 of Vicis Interimo, Time to Kill. Today's movie is Mirrors. Before we get into the movie, though, we'll have a brief, ever so brief, laid to rest segment. We'll do the movie review, and then we'll continue on with some garbage in, garbage out. Are you ready to go, Laurie?
Sure.
Okay. Well, let's start with our laid to rest. Did you have anything for last week's movie, The Last Exorcism?
No, I don't think so.
No? Well, I'm looking forward to hearing back from Slug. I guess Slug listened to the episode, and he had a few things to say about that movie. Unfortunately, we don't have that. We don't have anything from him yet, so that might actually go on to next week's show. I'm looking forward to hearing about it just because this was such an interesting topic for me, and we'll maybe discuss a little bit more about exorcism in our garbage in, garbage out segment. But in the meantime, we look forward to getting a clip from Slug to hear what he had to say about the movie. And really, I think that's it for Laid to Rest.
I do not see why it is necessary to wear these ridiculous uniforms. Protocol. They look like dresses. That is an incredibly outmoded and sexist attitude. Surprised at you. Besides, you look good in a dress.
For this week's movie, we're going to talk about Mirrors. And why don't you give us a synopsis for that, Laurie?
I can do that. Well, it's from 2008, and it's rated R. 112 minutes. Did it seem that long to you?
I think it did.
I think it did, too. This creepy supernatural thriller from director Alexandre Aja stars Kiefer Sutherland as troubled security guard Ben Carson, a man who discovers malevolent spirits living within the mirrors of a fire-ravaged department store. When their murderous nature comes to light, Ben turns to his estranged wife to help him save their family and himself. The supporting cast includes Amy Smart and Jason Flemyng.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if I pronounced the director's name right, so I apologize if I did not.
Well, that was a good effort. Probably.
I guess he's of the Hills Have Eyes and High Tension fame.
Oh, High Tension. I like that one.
That's an awesome movie.
The Hills Have Eyes was okay-ish.
It was okay for what it was.
Normally, I start out asking you what you thought of this film. I'm just going to jump right in here and say I didn't like it. Okay. For me, and I like some crap movies, let me tell you.
That you do.
So, for me, this
agree with you.
Just didn't quite work, and I don't know why. The acting was pretty good, and I guess I'm just going to say it was the story that kind of fell down for me. This should have been an interesting and excellent concept, I think, for a horror flick.
Mirrors are scary.
They can be, and it just didn't. The story didn't carry it off for me.
Well, now I don't know if you want to do spoilers or if it's worth trying to. I don't care if we do spoilers on movies that were just kind of meh, which this was certainly that.
Okay, well, we'll say that there's spoilers.
I mean, we don't have to. We don't have to spoil everything. So of course, there's a little mystery going on in it that had me interested.
You know what? There wasn't enough mystery in this to keep me interested. I liked the explanation once we got to it, but I didn't feel that suspense building.
No.
And
the mystery, no, it was a small mystery. It was just whatever these things were in the mirrors that were haunting everybody, it was looking for someone, and that's not giving anything away because you find that out.
Right.
All the victims of the mirrors were asked or told to go find a person named Essaker. Mm-hmm. So that was a mystery. That was about as interesting as it got for me because I was like, oh, well, that's something because you can't wait to find out why they're looking for this person or who this person is. I mean, I thought that's where the story was really going to kind of come alive for me and I was going to start really getting into it. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, it didn't deliver, but yeah, out of my likes, I liked that little bit of mystery. I like Amy Smart a lot, and I liked the setting. I liked the camera work, and I liked the setting, the interior of the department store. It had a very creepy, almost like Silent Hill feel to it. Mm-hmm. Lots of because it's an abandoned, burned out, gutted department store, but all the mannequins and everything is still in there.
Right.
So it's very dusty and dark, all those kind of blue-gray tones, and that I really liked, but that was about it.
And this was, of course, also supposed to be a hospital that had been converted to a department store, and then burned down. Well, not burned down, burned up, had fire go through it.
Didn't burn down.
Didn't burn down.
Still standing.
Yeah.
It was stone or whatever. It was a big, it wasn't a wooden building, so...
And interesting that, according to the story, according to bureaucracy, they weren't able to either tear it down. The insurance company wasn't paying off on it, so they couldn't tear it down. They couldn't clean it up. They couldn't,
Yeah, were you buying that?
Yeah, you know what? I've been to New York, and I've seen some pretty desolate things, and I've seen buildings that are standing for no good reason, it seems, and so on. So I could see that. I could buy that part of it.
All right.
But, initially it does seem like a little bit of a stretch. And like you said, all the things you named in there you liked, there were things that I liked too. And again, the story, the idea of dealing with mirrors, I mean, we talked just between ourselves earlier about, playing Bloody Mary or looking in the mirror and saying Candyman. And there was actually, we watched the unrated version of it. And again, this was another one of those times when I watched the extras and was more entertained with the stories that came out of there than this movie was.
Right.
But I now, after doing a little bit more research, I know exactly what the problem was. For me, with this movie, it's a remake of a 2003 South Korean film.
Yes.
And so basically, the guy tried to upgrade it from being a PG or a PG-13 movie to an R movie, and so some of the horror or some of the I'm going to call them horror elements, but some of the gore in this film just seemed added after the fact to up the creepiness factor, to up the gore level.
Right.
I enjoyed seeing Amy Smart in there, but some of her scenes felt out of place.
Okay. Yes. It's funny because you and we haven't really discussed this movie much.
Mm-mm.
And it's just funny because everything you're saying is basically, I feel like you're looking over my shoulder at what I wrote down.
Yeah.
Because, you're expressing exactly what I'm thinking.
Yeah. No, these are, like I said, these are the conclusions I came to just watching it. And it's too bad because I didn't have my hopes up for it because we had been told or suggested to watch this and thought that we might enjoy it.
Oh, who?
Tara.
Oh, okay.
And he had said that, you should see this. It wasn't a high recommend or whatever. You should see it and maybe do it for your podcast. You might enjoy it.
Well, see, I was a little concerned because I sort of missed it, I guess, when it came out. I don't remember it coming out. I don't remember anybody talking about it. I didn't hear anything about it. So that right there is a concern right off the bat. I
remember the trailers and seeing a few creepy scenes in there. And, again, just the idea of mirrors and how, some of the superstitions that go along with mirrors and so on have always been a fascination. Obviously, I'm interested in history, religion, folklore, those type of things. So, just the concept and the things that are associated with mirrors all turned out or could be very promising, but I just didn't carry over for me with this. Yeah,
it didn't for me either. And the things that I had written down, I already said what I liked about it. I really liked the atmosphere and the setting, and I like Amy Smart and the little bit of mystery, but I hated how Amy Smart died. It didn't make any kind of sense. Like you said, it seemed like a gore scene just put in there just for the sake of having a gore scene.
And it was pretty gory and disturbing.
It was kind of pointless to me. It was in there just for shock value, which that's what some people like. So, if you like that sort of thing, but I don't. I didn't like Kiefer Sutherland as the head role. He's like, it's funny because I couldn't quite put my finger on it. I don't know if he's like too big of an actor maybe, because like he's so well known and he's so specific. And it was funny because online I was reading a lot of people's reviews, and a lot of people were comparing his character to Jack Bauer.
Okay.
It's like, okay, this isn't 24, people, but that's what he is now. He's Jack Bauer. So people were comparing like how this man was making his decisions and reacting as compared to what Jack Bauer would do. So I'm like, okay, that's a little funny. I don't watch 24 anymore, so he's not Jack Bauer to me, but he is very much Kiefer Sutherland. I would have liked an actor that I didn't know. I don't know if that sounds weird or if it makes any kind of sense.
I was trying to decide as listening to you talk about that, and I was going to say that I got into him and his character okay, but it took time for me to warm up to him. Initially, It just didn't strike a chord. And what you said, though, that makes perfect sense and absolutely fits for me is this would have been a great part for an unknown actor or somebody else. I wouldn't have had, I don't think, as much of a problem. And I didn't see him I used to watch 24 when it first season or two and stuff, but he's too big of a name, and I like seeing him. Was it in Taking Lives where he had kind of a bit part? I do like seeing him in different roles, and I don't associate him with any one role in particular.
Right. No, me too.
But just his face, like you said, he's just well known enough to me that
I think it kind of goes with what you were saying, how the effects and things that they threw in there were to like make it more, and by the way, the people online who've seen the original, and you can't really say original because this one is just kind of loosely based on the Korean story. Mm-hmm. People were very careful to say that this wasn't, it was quite different. It had the same, it took place in an abandoned department store, and a security guard was involved and mirrors were involved, but the story I hear was totally different.
Yeah, I heard that he wasn't happy with doing a straight remake of it, and so it kind of rewrote.
So that being said, I think this remake or redo, it's maybe a little too Hollywood for me.
Yeah, okay.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Maybe because I Yeah, my dislikes had to do with some of the sound effects and things. Like, they got a little overambitious, I think, with some of the soundtrack and the sound effects when he's first. We didn't even talk about the story very much.
Not really.
He's an ex-police, right? Or he's on.
He's on leave or leave of absence.
Suspended or something for something that happened. So, yeah, to make extra money to support his estranged wife and 2 children, because they're separated. Because he had a drinking problem and some other psychological issues.
Right. He shot an undercover officer. He shot him. Yeah. So he's working basically graveyard shift as security in this abandoned, burned out department store. Right.
Which is a really cool idea. I liked that.
Yeah.
And it looked cool inside. So, I was like, oh, Kiefer Sutherland, I don't know about that. I remember saying, oh no, Kiefer Sutherland is in this? Like, I had no idea, and I was, that was unfortunate. But I got into it, and, that first night where he's walking around in there, and things happen very quickly, and he figures everything out very quickly, which I actually had a bit of a problem with. He didn't have to do much digging or anything to figure out, like, he just knew exactly what was going on and what the mirrors were looking for,
I had a problem with that at first, but then I got into it. It just moved very quickly. Yeah. It was trying to quickly deliver the story. There was a lot to do in 2 hours, I guess. But, or an hour and 12 minutes. Yeah.
But anyway, the sounds, like, when he was walking and, he's in this totally quiet building. It's huge, high ceiling. There would be creepy sounds and this and that, but he was hearing things, but the soundtrack and I wasn't sure if he was hearing the sounds or if only I was hearing, if it was a soundtrack.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I get that.
It wasn't like totally silent with, okay, insert creepy noise here and then him have a reaction to it, you know? It was like he was kind of freaking out a little bit and looking here and looking there. And the sound, I was like, oh, those are some kind of cool, creepy noises. But then it kind of turned into music. So I'm like, oh, wait, I'm hearing the soundtrack. What is he hearing?
Right.
Like, I couldn't, that sounds like such a weird complaint, but it bothered me, though.
Yeah, I could see that for...
The sounds can be so scary. They could be so, the ambiance, the ambient sounds, the atmosphere, those little sounds, like those are the things that really set it up and that really draw you in. But it was too noisy. There was too many sounds.
Okay.
But that was just sort of how it started, but he had some other nights in there that were really well done. I loved the dressing room scene where he's in this old dressing room and anytime you're in and that kind of made me think of Silent Hill too, in the bathroom, in the bathroom stalls.
Right.
Something's in there and the person's walking and they're pushing open every door. And something's going to be behind one of those doors.
Yeah, you just feel it building and so on, yeah.
Yeah, so that for me, I think, was my favorite part of the movie, where he was in the dressing room. Yeah, and he was, when he looked in the mirror, he could see a woman on the floor underneath one of the curtains.
Right.
But, he'd look and she wasn't really there. And so it had some good things.
There were some very cool things. I think... And this is the note that I made while watching it. And I said it starts to get creepy. We're saying a lot of the things that we don't like, and so that put us, or at least it put me off for the first maybe 10, 15 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
But then I found myself like, oh, okay, I am kind of getting into this. But then for me, it never really delivered.
Right. I think it kind of peaked for me at that dressing room scene because I was past that it was Kiefer. I'm like, okay, all right, he's this guy. He's the security guard. I'm buying this. This is good. The scenes are good. This is genuinely creepy. But it was kind of midway through the film somewhere in the first half of the film. But then I didn't get much after that from it.
Yeah. I think it built for me, and I'm going to say I liked the explanation. I liked the way things arguably ended. But to me, again, that felt almost kind of cut and pasted, kind of chopped together here and there.
Yeah.
There were a couple of, that's pretty much what I have to say about it, I guess. what else did you have to say?
Nothing that wouldn't pretty much just be redundant.
Okay.
I mean,
What would you give this one for a number?
That's hard. I'm not sure.
I would give it probably about a 4.
Okay. I'm going to say a 5, so you'd go even lower than me.
I might. And you know what? And this is, I don't know who's listening or who I'm going to offend, but this would be a good starter horror film for somebody, maybe. I'm going to say and this is where it gets bad, a younger, less sophisticated horror fan, somebody just getting into it. Not just getting into horror, maybe wanting something a little creepy.
Okay, I would take the younger part out.
Okay.
I do know people and know of people who like horror movies just for, they want the gore and the creepy and the this and the that, and they don't want too heavy of a story. I think it can be enjoyable if you're not really...
I guess when I say younger, I mean younger as in not necessarily age-wise. I'm thinking inexperienced, or I don't want to say naive. What is that? Am I still going the wrong road?
I don't know. It sounds funny the way you're explaining it, but I know what you're talking. Well, we've met some people our age kind of recently.
Yeah.
We've the last couple of years since we've been doing this, we've met a lot of adults who've gone their whole lives and who have never really watched horror. Yeah. So a lot of people are, but I hate to, here's a dummied down horror movie for you. Here, maybe you should try this.
It's a starter horror film.
But,
I'll say it then. Yeah, well, this is for people.
Now, see, I would still be careful though, because you have. Okay, I looked on here to see what the 1-star reviews had to say, and a lot of them actually talked about the gore, which maybe we should address again briefly. I was surprised by it. Like you said, it seemed out of place. Mm-hmm. It was sudden. Amy Smart, who we love, she had 2 scenes, and they were little tiny scenes, and then she's dead. And the way she dies it's very graphic. Right. And it seemed out of place. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? It was ridiculous to me, and people who gave it 1 star was like, this was a horrible film because it's described as a thriller, a supernatural thriller. I don't think people were prepared for the gore. I gotcha. Okay. And the people who gave the 1 stars, this person said, I hated it, full of blood and gore and a ridiculous storyline. They said along with bad acting, which I can't agree with them there, but they wrote, I was hoping for a psychological thriller. Okay. And then somebody else said another terrible movie based on an Asian film. They have some other films they recommend. They said, don't bother with this one. If you're looking for a good supernatural movie, do not bother with this one. And they, too, mentioned the gore. So the gore, I think, was very out of place for a lot of people. Yeah, I could see that. Here. This person was most in line with what they articulate it better than me, maybe. They say that they agree with the other reviewers that the mood of the movie and the camera work was really well done. The plot had some interest to it, but the movie itself didn't work. And they said the gore was badly done, and the only moments I felt scared were with just a couple startles. Okay. So they felt the gore was either offensive to people and it felt gratuitous, or they thought it was badly done. And once the initial shock of that scene was over and we watched the extras and we were able to see that scene again, it was kind of bad CG to start with. I don't know if I want to talk about. I don't know. I guess we can talk about it because people have either seen this movie and okay. I don't know. Okay. Do you want to? I don't know. I don't know because I actually thought it was pretty good. I liked it. I was going to say now taking. Wait, you liked how it was. You liked what? Because you said the gore was out of place. Right. That's one statement. But you thought it looked separate good. From that, if I was just commenting on the scene itself, it was pretty gruesome and effective. No, it is. So, like I said, after the initial shock of seeing it, because we were watching the movie and I was into the story and I was hanging on to the movie, when the scene happened, I was like, whoa, what? Like, that was really out of place and gory and horrific, and that looked really awful. Awful as in
bad.
Not an awful special effect. It was just an awful scene to watch that happen to somebody.
Right.
So I was like, wow, that was just too much. I didn't notice anything particularly bad about the special effect.
Okay.
Because of the shock of I'm like, is this really happening? You know, why? I don't get why that character was eliminated like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think she could have had a bigger part.
Okay.
But when we watched the special effects and they showed that scene again in the special effects portion of the extras, whatever, you basically, we won't talk about what happens, but there's like flesh is tearing and it looks like a CG. It looks like an animation. Maybe we don't have it anymore, do we? You can't run in there and throw it.
Nope, I don't.
Shoot. I bet you can find it online.
You definitely can find it online because
you see the flesh where the flesh is tearing. It does look kind of fake. It looks like animated little cracks appearing before the flesh actually starts to part. That sounds gross.
It is.
But anyway, so I see what these people are complaining about as far as the special effects being horrible.
Okay. I guess looking at it like that, breaking it down shot by shot, but I'm thinking of it.
You're looking at the big picture.
I'm looking at the big picture.
It's all about the big picture. You're like Ed Wood.
Exactly.
It's all about the big picture.
It's all about the big picture.
Well, yeah, these people, maybe they rewound it, said, oh, that was interesting. Let's rewind it and look at it again. And then like, no, maybe that looks a little lame after all.
Yeah.
I don't know. But that's just it's interesting. The people online in the reviews, they're absolutely addressing the gore. That seems to be the topic on here.
Okay. Well, that's what I would go back to then and say, if you want...
It's a complaint on here.
If you want to start a horror film that ups the level of gore just a little bit, that is an R-rated horror, this would be a movie for you and stuff. Other than that, though...
There's another gory scene. It starts out with a gory scene.
It does. It hits you right in the very beginning with that. And again, that felt... Again, I didn't know what I was in for, but it did feel out of place with the rest of the movie for me, but...
You mean Amy Smart's scene?
Nope, I mean the opening scene too. Even that felt too, because you would think that's the first thing I'm seeing, so I'm gonna this is what you're in for the rest of the movie. But it didn't feel right to me right at the beginning. So
can we say? We'll just say, since it's not a big surprise in the beginning, and if anyone watches this movie, they'll know what we're talking about within 60 seconds.
Yeah. Basically,
a guy has his throat cut.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, and you see that a lot in movies, and I guess that sort of thing it didn't feel out of place to me, because people having throats cut, that's pretty cliche and pretty common. Yes. Amy Smart scene, not cliche.
Not quite, not as common.
And God forbid, I don't want to see that in every horror movie. Once was enough, thanks.
Yeah.
The opening scene, that didn't bother me so much.
We kind of saw it in Beetlejuice, didn't we?
In Beetlejuice? My gosh.
Never mind, we'll talk about that later. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we're all looking for something different, and the things that I was looking for in a movie, Mirrors did not have it.
Yeah.
That's all. It doesn't mean other people won't love it.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Okay.
I didn't love it.
No, neither did I. But there were some other movies that we did love.
Really?
Or ones that I liked anyhow.
Like?
We'll talk about those in a second.
Okay.
People say, oh, it's dangerous to keep weapons in the home or the workplace. Well, I say, it's better to be hurt by someone you know accidentally than by a stranger on purpose.
Okay, so for garbage in, garbage out, we've lost our Stars movie channels, unfortunately.
How sad.
Yeah, but in the meantime, at least for the next couple of months, we're going to have HBO, which means we've come in the middle of a lot of movies. Mm-hmm. We won't talk about those, but let's talk about some movies that we did watch. First of all, we've had it here for Netflix forever, but what did you think of The Terminal?
It was just okay.
Yeah, I hated it.
I hated it.
I didn't hate it. I didn't like the movie, though. Yeah. It's another one of those I didn't like, and I'm not sure if this is Tom Hanks' fault or just it's movies that he's in that I wind up caring too much about the main character, and I don't like the movie, and I don't like the situation they're in. And I'm not sure if that's just coincidence or whatever, but... You know, watching this movie, The Terminal...
it's his fault for saying yes to these scripts. No.
and I don't know if I would feel that same way with a different actor, but with that and Forrest Gump, like, I felt so bad for the character that I couldn't enjoy the movie or the rest of what was going on. You know, the guy that was in this, he did a really good job playing the main character, and I should have these names in front of me. Victor? Was his name Victor?
Yes.
And it's just... He was likable and enjoyable enough, but then when it came down to the situation that they placed him in, the character of
it was sad.
It was so sad, and I was worried, which is terrible, and I sound like a sap here, but I mean I was more worried about what was going on with him that I was upset for him. That like Stanley Tucci's character was just such a dick that I can't believe that anybody would have let somebody get caught in this situation without doing something to help him and stuff.
Yeah. Well, in that, I found that kind of bothersome. I didn't want to say I hated it. That's why I said it was just okay. But, I didn't really care much for it at all. Yeah. Like you said, it was a bad situation, and they tried to put humor in it and stuff and put little funny things and light things. But it came down to this guy being stuck there and not being able to go home, and his country is at war and people are dying. And there were moments where he would stop and look at the television and he'd see what was going on, you know, with tears in his eyes. And it was just like, what is going on here? And like you said, the director or whatever of The Terminal was just such a jerk.
Yeah.
And so there wasn't really anybody likable in it. And even, you know, he meets a woman, and she's not likable. She has issues. I don't know. I can't really quite figure it out. Like, what is the purpose of this movie?
I couldn't figure that out. I mean, partly, I guess, it was to tell a story that is crazy enough, true on some level. I actually included a link in here, and true in the fact that there's a story of not a story. There's a guy that supposedly was stuck. You notice I still am qualifying it by saying supposedly and whatever.
Yeah.
Anyhow, stuck in an airplane terminal for 18 years. What did I say?
18 years, I think.
18 years, yeah.
Yeah, I don't get it.
But yeah, for this to happen, well, not that the movie was anything like that other than just taking the basic concept of the guy having his passport and stuff stolen and or his paperwork stolen and being stuck in an airport.
Right.
Other than that, it was I mean, it's like saying that, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is based on a true story.
Right, and then it's totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we were watching the movie, I knew it was based on a true story, and I thought it was probably true to what happened. Mm-hmm. And so that bothered me the whole time because I thought, wow, really? He can't get on a plane and go anywhere else, and he can't walk out the front door.
Yeah.
He can't. And they told him, you cannot go out that door. You are not allowed to walk on American soil. You have to stay in here. Feel free to, the part that looked like a mall or whatever. Feel free to
International
browse
terminal.
around there. Here's some food vouchers, and it was like, what?
Yeah.
So, and with nobody helping him.
Yeah. So that bothered me and basically prevented me from enjoying the movie. Which sounds ridiculous. But I had the same problem.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't to me.
I had the same problem with Forrest Gump. I felt so bad. And that also maybe comes from actually reading the book, Forrest Gump, too, and knowing, and again, that's a fictitious character completely. But whatever. Anyhow. It would surprise me that, was this a Spielberg movie, I believe? And they spent 2 hours to tell this story that it just didn't work for me. So
yeah. It didn't work for me either. And then it was long. It was very long. Yeah. It felt very long.
Yeah, 2 hours. So
okay,
that's quite a bit. Now,
yeah. Well, and then you were telling me the real story today, and reading about the real man who this supposedly happened to, and it was in France, and it was like totally different circumstances, and people thought he was either mentally, he had a mental disorder, or, he was just basically living and working there it's just totally different, different. So why, I don't know, did someone hear about that and then go, oh, I'm going to write this, I'm going to write The Terminal and just make it totally different?
Yeah, I don't know. And interesting. Well, we see more and more with just some of the other stuff that we watched and talked about. There's a lot of times there's scripts laying around and people find a way to attach a different name or a different something to it. And that's why some of these things feel a little bit patchwork and piecemeal sometimes. Well,
that was the thing. They seemed like they just took very little from it. And then, they gave it a warm, fuzzy ending. They made it about, this man wanting to fulfill his father's last dying wish. It had this kind of fuzzy, warm ending.
Yeah.
So I was like, where'd that come from? It was weird. It was weird. It wasn't for me.
No. Now on to the good movies, the movies we liked, anyhow.
Okay. I was going to say, didn't you say we watched some movies that we really loved?
I did. The Magnificent Seven.
Okay.
Went back and watched that, 1960, I think. Yul Brynner, it's just got everybody in it. Steve McQueen, all these guys, taken from an adaptation of the Seven Samurai. I still need to see the Seven Samurai, but anyhow, the Magnificent Seven, really enjoyed that. You watched part of it too with me.
I watched part of it.
Yeah, so that. After saying and talking all these weeks about things like person of interest and me enjoying situational ethics and this and that. I do love a good Western. I love a good Western where things are just cut and dry, black and white, good guys, bad guys, that kind of stuff. And, man, great movie. So if you haven't seen that for whatever reason, go back and enjoy a classic, I say. Other classics, updated classic, Clash of the Titans. What do you think of that?
I liked Clash of the Titans.
I liked Clash of the Titans, too.
I was prepared to hate it because I love the first one.
Yeah, but they didn't try to redo.
No, it was very different. It was so different. The story was different. The characters were, okay, some of them had the same names.
Right.
But they acted different, made different kinds of decisions. Story was different.
I did enjoy the cameo from the first film in there.
Yes. yes. There was a couple little things thrown in there for us to enjoy from the first one.
But now having said that, I didn't like the main character as Percy.
I remember you saying that.
I didn't get into it until he went into the underworld, and I know you said that, he wasn't acting like a hero, he was a fisherman up to that point, or whatever, but it just, for whatever, him as an actor just wasn't working for me. Hold on one second, sorry. That's an awful picture right there.
What is that?
It's Tom Hanks all teared up and stuff. He's looking at the.
Yeah.
That doesn't go with that movie. That's just awful. Anyhow, sorry.
Well, it does. Those moments.
It does. Anyhow.
You know what it had? It had really sad moments where you just pitied him, and then it had the funny
slapstick slipping on the floor and.
Yeah, the part where he's listening to the music and doing a little dance, like the cutesy, lighthearted moments, and then there was all this stuff in between that just was neither here nor there. It seemed like it didn't have a purpose.
Yeah.
But, I was going to say maybe it was too subtle, but usually I can do subtle. Yeah. There's some really subtle movies out there that I love because the dialogue is so well written, and there's these little things that you have to look out for, but I couldn't find them in The Terminal.
Yeah.
Maybe I was looking in the wrong place.
Maybe. Sorry about that. We were talking about the Clash of the
Titans. You didn't like Perseus.
He just didn't do it for me but then I got into it and wow, that's halfway through the film maybe. So
right.
There is a second one coming out, I think we heard, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Well, this one ends. It's an open ending.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
So yeah, I kind of hope they do another one. I think I would maybe not wait a year or two to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it.
So, what else did we watch? This wasn't movies, but we watched Bully Beatdown.
Oh my gosh.
New season. That's
Love
so
Bully
much
Beatdown.
fun. I really, for me, it's great. It's more like, what do you call it? It's more like wrestling, in a nice short form where I don't have to go through a long, complicated storyline and just enjoy.
Instant gratification.
Exactly, instant and I can watch 30 minutes and see somebody get the crap beat out of them that has it coming to them for sure.
That was asking for it.
Yeah, and luckily we caught the episode there where Mayhem actually fights, so that was absolutely worth seeing. I think I have a link to that in the show notes also.
Hey, all right.
It's sweet.
That was the best one ever.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. It's not just these people don't just have it coming to them.
They ask for it.
Yeah. They're like, bring it. And you sure you don't want to back out? You don't want to, no, let me in there. I'm going to rip him up.
I go through this every time, but it's like, haven't these people seen the show? Don't they know what's coming?
Don't they know they're going to be...
You are going to get whipped and put in your place.
Yes.
One guy didn't. One guy, I think, made it through and got his, got $10,000 or whatever for putting up with it, but... That's the exception, not the rule. And he
was beat up badly though at the end.
I think he's the only one that I saw that hurled. Well, maybe there's been others too, but I think he was so bad.
There's been a couple. Well, he was on the They had to put him on the oxygen tanks and all that.
Yeah. But he took his beating. But I doubt that he'd be bullying anybody after that. So that was good to see. That's always good to see. Anyhow. One last thing. We're going totally long this episode, but. Well, at least for us, there's interesting topics to talk about. But tell me about the documentary that we watched. You had to watch it for school, and I wound up just kind of getting drawn into it. I couldn't help it, just considering what we've been talking about with exorcisms and demon possessions and so on lately.
Yeah. Well, I'm in an anthropology class, and it's magic and religion. So we talk about a lot of interesting things and see a lot of interesting things. And we watched a documentary called Return to Africa's Witch Children. And you can watch it for free on an awesome website called topdocumentaryfilms.com. It has hundreds of documentaries that for free. You just click on them right there and watch them. High quality. It's a great website. Anyway, this documentary was actually one was made 1 year prior, and I can't think of the name of it. I think it's maybe just called Africa's Witch Children, and they visit Nigeria and down there in the Delta area. And there's unfortunately a whole society of people down there who, a lot of societies believe in witchcraft, and there's nothing wrong with that. But unfortunately, this society has become quite maladaptive because they're killing their children because they believe the children to be witches.
Yeah, and it's a great, powerful documentary, but it has some really horrific and hard to watch scenes as far as
well, I would recommend definitely this one that's titled what I said, Return to Africa's Witch Children. Mm-hmm. The one that came before it was just bringing awareness to the problem, and I think it was a lot more difficult to watch.
Yeah.
This one was made 1 year later. They revisit the area. And they've a wonderful man who lives down there who's Nigerian. He opened a school and basically a protective home for children to go to. I don't know how many live there now, but he started with 6 children. He gave sanctuary to 6 children, and now he's got like 100 or something.
150, I think, was the count during the movie, at least. And there's probably, who knows, there may be even more now. But yeah, it was up to 150 kids that they were trying to take care of.
Yeah, and they try to educate the local people and try to integrate the children back into the families and villages, which is actually quite dangerous if done wrong.
Yeah.
But they've had some success, and their ideas and their attitudes are changing a little bit. They are making very slow progress, but they are making progress.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that the bishops or pastors or whoever are, in some cases or most cases, willing to, for a price,
yes,
exorcise them and stuff.
Yeah, they do many, many exorcisms, and they're really expensive, and these people are poor. So, and the one we meet on the documentary, the one who says he killed 150 children, he'll keep your child. If you take because a lot of people don't want to do this themselves, or they don't want to kill their child or banish them. A lot of them are just left by the roadside because some people don't want to kill or harm their child, so they take them to the exorcist or they just leave them somewhere. But this exorcist, he'll just hold their child for ransom basically until they can pay.
Yeah.
And the child goes through this so-called treatment or whatever on a daily basis, and these children they're scarred and maimed and crippled, and it's horrible. It's horrible. So
bringing it back around to the horror movies, and the reason that this stuck with me for various reasons of stuff watching it, but there's one particular, what is she, a pastor? Anyhow, there's one particular person that has taken it upon themselves to go about this arguably the right way, and the right way being she's using her political power and money to try to shut down this place where they're taking the kids in. And she's made movies about showing these children and portraying them as possession and being possessing people and having supernatural powers. And though it's a movie, that's the thing that stuck with me the most. Like I said, we've watched movies about possession and things nowadays. We watch them here and we take them for granted as just being entertainment and stuff. So it stuck with me that how damaging these things could be, and how somebody seeing these movies and not looking at them as entertainment or what have you, how it could affect the society. And the stuff that they were showing in these movies, while some of it was some bad CG, other stuff was just straight Tokyo Shock type stuff with people with their eyes popping out of their heads and so on. And it's like, I can't imagine, we talk about how movies affect us and what we enjoy and what we don't enjoy about them, but could you imagine if you had never seen these or weren't familiar with movies as a medium for just storytelling, to see these things on film or in a film, and if you didn't know any better, weren't educated. Yeah,
they're shown as fact. So this woman, she's described as a self-taught prophetess, and she has the I had it written down here and I can't find it now. Because I of course had to write a report on all of this. But she has like the most popular church down there. She's got
150 of them, right?
150 some odd churches. Yeah. It's a something or other gospel church. I'm sorry, I can't think of it now, but she's the head, and she's a mother. She has children of her own, but she has the money and the means and knows people, and she's friends with the police and other people. But she's got the means to make these horror movies that show children as zombies eating flesh and pulling out people's eyeballs and spiriting people away. And people watch these and they take them as fact, and they're scared to death, and they're killing their children because of it. Yeah. So it's just incredible, us living in our little bubble, everyone lives in their own little bubble. You know, what's around you, but it's amazing what goes on out there. Yeah. And it's good to learn about it. Because there's this. And why is it good to learn about it? Because there's actually a charity, and if you watch the documentary, you meet the man right away who is behind both of these documentaries. He's from England, and he has a charity called Stepping Stones, and the funds that they raise goes to help. It goes directly to the school where they're caring for all the children who get, abused and abandoned. Right. They need to feed them and clothe them and take care of them, and they're all doing really well there. But every bit of the money goes straight to them.
Yeah.
So
anyhow, I'm not sure how much of this I'm going to wind up editing down stuff.
Yeah, we're talking about this as long as it made an impact on you.
It did. It really did. And that, like I said, as interesting and as free as I think people should be to have their own beliefs and so on, when it starts affecting other people or it starts being used as a tool, I have a problem with that. But
these people have a natural fear of witchcraft, as do thousands of societies and groups of people all around the world. But it doesn't have to become maladaptive like this is. Yeah. Because there's nothing adaptive about wiping out all the children. That is no good for any society. Well,
like you said, I think that almost feels like it's just a genocide, really, to get rid of.
I would actually like to know more about what's going on in this area, or what's behind all of these churches and the people who run them, and this woman. Why, if you're in a position of power like that and everyone respects you that much and they're going to listen to you, that's not, my mind doesn't go to, things like that. You would think she would want to help people instead of say, yes, your children are all a bunch of witches and you need to kill them. Here's how. Yeah. Like, what's her motive, and what,
greed, money, that's always what it comes down to.
It still doesn't make sense, though. It still doesn't make sense. It's strange. It's so very interesting and strange. People are so interesting and strange.
Indeed.
That's why I love anthropology.
Yikes. We're so totally over on this.
Well, stop talking.
Okay. Well, thank you all for listening. We really do appreciate you folks coming back and making the effort to download us or listen to us, whether you're on Facebook or catching us on iTunes. We're having problems with our website with my computer and stuff right now, so we haven't been updating the back end page for a couple of weeks, but you found us somehow. You're listening to us now.
Yay.
But anyhow, thanks for coming back. Thanks for listening to us. Check out our show notes. We're going to have links on all the things that we talked about there. You can find us on Podomatic. Just punch in Vicis Interimo, VICIS INTERIMO. Find us on iTunes. Look for us on LA Podcasters, lapodcasters.com. Anything else before we go?
I think that's quite enough.
That's plenty. So thanks for listening. See you next week.